Alright, let's now edit these artboards to create various sizes and orientations so we can get some really different settings in here. What we'll do is press Shift O and pull up our artboards tool, and you can see that not only do we have the artboard numbers from 1 through 4, but we also have the default names, which are basically the same. Now, you will notice in the corner of the currently selected one, which is Artboard 4, or if you don't have it selected, simply click on it. It's very easy to highlight an artboard. You'll see in the top right-hand corner there is a close button. If we go ahead and click that, we will actually delete a whole artboard. So we do want 3 single artboards, so do make sure you delete that 4th one. But now what we can do is make changes to each of these remaining ones. So artboard 1 is going to remain as A4, okay? Our second one, we're going to switch that to an A3 one because we want to do a poster design as well as our A4 sheet that we have in here. So with artboard 2 selected, let's come up here to the presets on the control bar at the top, and we'll go down and choose A3. Now you'll notice it overlaps. Don't worry about that, we can adjust that in a minute. What we'll do whilst we're here, let's go ahead and select the 3rd artboard, and we'll do this in fact as a custom size. We're going to create a flyer. Now a flyer is usually the width of your paper, and then you cut it maybe into thirds, so you can print 3 up on the same sheet, and it's obviously cheaper to do. So in this case, what I'm going to do is come over here to the width and height settings. I'm going to keep the width as 210. Make sure that the constrain option here is not turned on, okay? By default it shouldn't be, but if I click that, you can see the little lines appear on each side. That means it's constrained, so if I did change the height, the width would change as well. So we do want to make sure that's turned off. Now basically a third of 297 is 99, so I'm going to go ahead and key in 99 millimeters and just press return or enter to say OK, and you can see artboard 3 is now a custom size, so very cool and easy to do. Now the other thing about the artboards tool, which is really nice, is we can then use it to drag and rearrange the layout of these artboards. So remember, this large grey area, it's our drawing board. We can position these wherever we want in relation to each other and work on them independently. So really what I want here is I want the A3 poster to be over on the left hand side. So I'm just going to move it a little bit over here. Now you'll notice the smart guides are working, we're intersecting, but you don't have to be defined by them. We can position this wherever we want to. Then what I'm going to do is take our A4 artboard 1 here and drag this over to the right and make sure we do align it to the top of our poster here. I like things that line up, so it's nice that we can do this. In the same vein, what we'll do is take our flyer down here, which is the same width as the A4, so in fact as we drag down, we get a perfect snap. It aligns to the bottom of our A3, to the center of the A4, and we get a nice even layout. Once again, if we use our Fit All keyboard shortcut, we can now zoom up and see all 3 artboards together. Now you'll notice, despite the fact that we rearrange them manually, and this is essentially artboard 1, and this is 2, and this is 3, the numbers, essentially the pagination, even though it's not real pagination like in InDesign, but the pagination has not reset. That's something that we'll do in the artboards panel in just a short while, but this gives you an idea of how we can set this up. Now once again, if we press the V key so we can go back to our selection tool, we've now got our 3 artboards in place. What we're going to do is create a second document here, because as well as doing a print campaign for this project that we're going to work on, we're also going to do a digital campaign, such as a homepage for a website, maybe some banners, and also an HDTV interstitial, if you like, for some broadcast advertising. So once again, Command N or Control N on the PC for a brand new document. And what we'll do this time is come to our new document profile, and let's maybe just go down to basic RGB for now. We're going to do 1 artboard, but we're going to change our settings here to pixels. It's all going to be web or broadcast based, so I'm going to specify this as pixels. And in fact, I'll do this as a custom size of 1280 by 720. Now I could go up here to the video settings and choose that, but I just want to show you how we can key these things in manually, so no problem there. Once again, double check the color mode. It's RGB, our size is good, pixels, 1 artboard. That looks pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and say OK. That will open up over the top. We only have 1 artboard. What we want to do now are create 2 more. Now, previously in the CMYK file, we generated multiple artboards at the start. Well, here, I've only created 1. How do we add them into the document? Well, what I'll do is zoom down a little bit so we can see more of our drawing board, if you like, and just move this over a bit. If we now switch over to our artboards tool, okay, Basically, you can click and drag anywhere to generate more artboards. You don't need to specify them at the start. So anywhere over here on the right hand side, I'm going to click and drag and create 2 new artboards of completely random sizes. Okay. Now, based on what we already know, we can go into these now and make changes to the sizes. So I'm going to select artboard 2 here. Remember, we're in pixels and I want to specify, let's say this is going to be a home page layout for our website. So up here in the control panel, I'm going to say, let's do a width of 960 pixels. And a height of 640 pixels, okay? Likewise, we can come down here to the third artboard, and this is going to be maybe an advertising banner for a sponsors page somewhere on another website. So maybe we'll choose something like 900 pixels by 100, something fairly standard like that. Now, whilst we're here, I've also realized that this size I specified, 1280x720, we've now, say, received new updates to say, no, this is full 1080 HD, not 1280x720. So let's go ahead and select that artboard, come over here to our presets. We can simply say switch to HDV 1080. Now, once again, we need to reorganize these so that they align and don't overlap. So once again, using the snap functionality here, it's very easy to do that. Just align centrally and make sure there's a little bit of space there. Now, while we're on the subject of broadcast and we have this HDV artboard over here on the left-hand side, I also want to point out safe areas. Now, if you work in broadcast, that's something you're familiar with. When you're generating graphics for TV, you usually specify areas within your page or your artboard beyond which you shouldn't place any elements, just in case they disappear off the edge of a screen, because older televisions have black borders around the outside, and occasionally things would slide off the side of the screen. It's not so much an issue these days with HD and with flat screen TVs, but it's still worth bearing in mind. Well, knowing what these safe areas are is pretty good, and in After Effects and Photoshop you can have these as a default, but Illustrator also has them as well, and it's not really that well known. Up here, again in the control panel, there's a lot of options here, as you can see. We've got an option right here that tells us what our display functionality is. So if I click on the side of that, you can see we have the ability to show a center mark in any artboard. It doesn't have to be the one we've got selected. Crosshairs as well, and also our show video safe areas. Now, you can activate them individually if you want to. Let's say we wanted all 3 of them in here, just for safety's sake. We can click on the options here, and that will bring up all of the options for this entire artboard. So here, we could name it. We could choose a new preset, the size, the orientation, its overall position on the page, and here, the 3 display options I just mentioned. So if I just pull this to one side, we'll actually see this as it happens. Show the center mark. We see a little green area appear in the center there. Show the crosshairs to give us the centers vertically and horizontally, and also show our safe areas at the same time. Now, if I go ahead and click OK, you'll see that's applied to this artboard only. The other 2 stay exactly as they are. So I think this is very, very cool. Now, the reason I left a small space down here is we want to have 2 banners. We want to do maybe version 1 and version 2, 2 different designs inside this document. And I want to show you a really nice feature of sort of copying and pasting with artboards. So just for safety's sake, again, hit the V key to go back to our main selection tool. And what we're going to do is bring up our open dialog box. And once again, from our project files, we're going to choose a file to open. Now, this one is actually going to be in the Illustrator files folder. So make sure you go ahead and select that. And the first document you see here is called Banner Design. So pretty straightforward to understand what that is. Go ahead and select it and click Open, and that will open up this banner design which has already been created for us. Now, if you happen to get a warning that the linked file bannerpics.tif is missing, just go ahead and click Replace and navigate to the Images folder inside your Project Files folder, select the bannerpics.tif there, and simply relink it that way. Now, if I just zoom down a little bit on this, you can see it's basically the same as the area we've defined on the other page. And because I created this file, I can tell you it is exactly the same. So what we want to do is take these elements and put them into our other document. And I want to show you a pretty cool thing here. Going to select it. This is why we went back to our main selection tool. Just click on that. And because I have it already grouped together, it's going to pick up all of those artwork elements. What we can do is go to Edit and choose Copy. As a standard, it's Command-C or Control-C on the PC. So make sure you go ahead and copy that, and then we'll switch back to our RGB document here in the background. Now, remember that this is the artboard that we wish to paste it into. So I'm going to go ahead and click that so it highlights around the edge. And then what we can do is press Command-0 or Control-0 on the PC to fit that in the window. Now, very cool new keyboard shortcut inside of Illustrator CS5 is instead of going to Edit and choosing Paste, we can choose Paste in Place. If you select that, you'll see it drops it down in exactly the same location because the artboard is exactly the same size as the one we copied it from. So this is really cool if you're copying things from document to document. Now, like I said, we want 2 of these banners. So really we need now another artboard and also another set of these artwork elements in which we might maybe switch out the images or change the title or something like that. So I'm just going to drop down a little bit in size here. I'm just going to click outside to deselect and then once again go back to the artboards tool. And here's the very cool thing. Positioning your cursor over that artboard, number 3, hold down the Option key or the Alt key on the PC and drag downwards. Now again, we've got the wonderful snap functionality, as you can see by the green line, but importantly, 2 other things are happening here. We are copying an artboard, okay, generating another one, but also, as you can see by these blue graphics that are appearing inside the dotted line, we're also copying the artwork with it. So we're basically copying 2 elements together just by simply option dragging. Now that functionality will copy anything inside of Illustrator, so remember that for later on, holding down your Option or your Alt key, and that will do the trick. So once again, go back to the main selection tool. You can see that we've now got our 2 banners, our 2 artworks in place, and I fit everything down in one window. I think we've got a pretty decent selection of RGB documents there.